There is nothing wrong with your monitor. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can roll the image, make it flutter. We can change the focus to a soft blur, or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, sit quietly, and we will control all that you see and hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your monitor. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner minds to Midnight Axxess tonight.
Welcome to tonight's programming of MAxT, or Midnight Axxess Tonight, brought to you by the one and only president of Media Axxess, David Donations Phonation Sarnoff, a man of few words, a lot of money, and a big heart. A man whose philosophy is, tell the truth and tell it loud. Recent videos have just popped up all over YouTube, and it's gotten everyone's attention. Is this the Perpetual War, as the descriptions outright proclaim? After many phone calls, we've gathered that it is indeed the Perpetual War, at its early stages after creation. Commissioned by the U.S. Department of Defense and the U.S. Department of Central Discernment, the first video was a test run of one of the many abilities of the Perpetual War. Here it is for your viewing pleasure now, if you haven't seen it already.
Phase 89.
Right. Set it up.
7,
He's counting down on already.
6,
He's counting down.
5,
Sir, I don't know
4, 3,
shut the fuck up.
2, 1.
As you can vaguely hear, that is General Handdog yelling, "It's ready for Strawberry Fields." The sheer power and terror of this creature is astonishing. This was the second video. In the second video, we were able to track down the YouTuber that posted it. Not willing to come on camera and explain the video, he gave us a note. I was a soldier protecting the outer region of the tester platform when suddenly the creature was upon me. I was terrified for my life. I never thought of dropping the camera, so ran with it. When I felt it was upon me and I turned around, it simply stared down at me, or what I assumed was a stare. I felt a wave of love, and then just like that, it disappeared. I can vouch that the Perpetual War definitely never had any intentions of violence.
And on that note, we are pleased to report that the Perpetual War has been spotted on the outskirts of the Middle East near Syria, feeding the poor. Simply tapping into the properties of strawberry fields, which if you remember, strawberry fields consist of Egypt and parts of the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea, as well as certain parts of Iraq, Syria, places like that, mostly the lower Middle East region. The Perpetual War seems to have been feeding food which just popped out of thin air due to strawberry fields, and it's filtering it through the inhabitants of Syria. Once the American and British military was wind of it, it soon disappeared.
The Department of Central Discernment has assured the residents of Conductor, Nevada that everything will be fine. A PSA released 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks for Mars radio listeners, interrupted our programming with the promise of water. Conductor still suffering after what is now months from the brain amoeba epidemic after a raw sewage spill contaminated their water supply, has been in well-deserved uproar over having their needs slowly met. A quarantine has been in effect since Sunday, September 13th of 2010. Also, a part of the quarantine are Tallahassee and Papatia, Nevada. No end date for the quarantine have ever been released. Now, for a very special interview to break away from all this decay. Computer scientist and Abigail Hours' twin sister, Seth
Jobs. Hello, Seth Jobs. Welcome to MAxT.
Thanks. Glad to be here. One of my fave YouTube's news networks ever, except maybe the Divine Comedy. As the old saying goes, television is dead. The internet is alive. I see Media Axxess bought the rights to replay Divine Comedy here. I remember when I first saw it. God, those guys were morons. And I know why it was all males too. Because the producers at InRe knew if they had a female, they'd find the meaning of life in the first day or so, and there'd be no show.
I may have to agree.
The sacred feminine, all I'm saying. But I still enjoy watching it. Guilty pleasure. And after the ending, I can completely see why it was the inspiration for Divine Doubters.
Yes. I just read that blog they put out last week as well. I couldn't believe it. They were that same couple in Idaho we reported on a few months back in episode 0. About realizing the hopeless emptiness of their everyday existence, not wanting to be shackled down anymore and wanting freedom. Realized for their relationship to stay strong, they'd have to flee that hopeless emptiness immediately. I was wondering what happened to them. I was really impressed by that move, actually taking hold of it, saying, you can change all this whenever you desire. And then to find out last week, they are the Divine Doubters, trying to spread peace and enlightenment to all humanity?
But of course, once you attain enlightenment, it's your job to spread the word.
Indeed. We interviewed your twin sister last week. She says to say hello.
Well, hello, big sissy. What, you can call and tell me yourself? Yeah, I saw that interview. She did okay. Looked good. Not better than me, though.
I don't know if to agree or disagree. I can't honestly tell the difference.
As most people can't, I've only had 2 boyfriends who ever could. It was a lot more fun when we were kids.
So Seth, you're a computer scientist, if not the computer scientist.
I am. That is I. Computer nerd, hacker, and all around the smartest woman in the world. Abigail is just right under me.
And you created the quantum chip which sparked life into the Perpetual War, or Jamie.
Correct. David, quantum biologist Dr. David Riskin, I guess he should say his formal name, called me up telling me about a project he was working on. A secret project. So obviously I was intrigued. When he told me the idea and I went for a meeting, they described it simply as an experiment. I was completely unaware of the actual purpose of the creature we were creating until about midway through. You have to remember, this project was funded by the military, yes, and the Department of Central Discern, but it was advertised by the Puppeteers and the Kristallnacht corporations. I thought we were doing it for them. Once I found out exactly what I was creating and why, I was appalled.
Yes, we remember the legal battle that took place all those years ago between you, your sister, and the Department of Central Discern.
It was a bitch. They won out in the end, of course, but they sure as hell didn't have the last word.
No, they didn't. The Perpetual War is definitely refusing to fight in the war. I'd say it definitely had the last word.
Oh yes, of course.
So, this quantum chip that everyone talks about, I know you explained it thousands of times, but explain it here for us at MAxT tonight.
Well, Jamie, or the Perpetual War, is in the style of the old ideas of the ear mouse and such. Genetic hybrids.
Like that movie Splice.
Oh god, I have no idea. I haven't seen it and I really don't plan to.
Fair enough. Kwata, go.
Kwata, quantum data, an AI, artificial intelligence computer chip, nano-sized, talking in the 1 billionths. Very tiny. That's an understatement. Extraordinarily tiny. It's the best AI has to offer so far. An actual thinking machine. How it works though, it's not like how our brain works. This creature shifts through probabilities. I love how Dave said it. It calculates probabilities of probabilities. That's very true. It shifts through the probabilities of a certain outcome and then decides which is more likely to occur. And it goes under the assumption that this certain event is what would happen and reacts accordingly, but it does this every picosecond. That's smaller than the nano. So every move it makes and decision it creates, it calculates within a picosecond the next set of possible and probable outcomes accordingly. Every picosecond. The human brain could never calculate responses, thoughts, or decisions anywhere near that amount of time. Is it human? Well, that's another debate. But it thinks. You can sit and converse with it, and it will give you a logical, well thought out response as to its decision. It's feeding the poor. It's showing love. If that's not human, I don't know what is.
You know, Seth, I just don't know. What is human these days? Very dark days indeed. Homegrown terrorist groups, rebel groups, twisted government. Perhaps you created the Perp War to be more human than us.
But my baby's doing its job, doing what it's supposed to do. Dave grew an attachment to Jamie as well. I like that name, and when he called me and asked to help give a brain to a creature he had in mind, I liked the challenge. He provided the flesh, I provided the soul.
I like that analogy. Well, thank you, Dr. Seth Jobs, for allowing us to interview you on this greatly intriguing subject.
Thank you for having me. Oh, and by the way, sis, you owe me $20. That date you set me on sucked. He was a complete douchebag. I felt like I was talking to a DJ from Mars Radio. So yeah, I won the bet.
Now wasn't that just enlightening? What good is knowledge if we don't apply it? Hell, what good is willingness if we don't do? We can all take a lesson from Seth. Use your brains. You've only got one. Horselover, what do you have for us now?
Thanks, Ace. DCD police, established about a year ago by the U.S. Department of Central Discern, are still the subject of a series of protests from the Divine Doubters, as well as violent protests from the Immaculate Contraception rebel group. In current news, hence their reference here, the Immaculate Contraception, who had put out a vidblog warning any news media source of imminent destruction if anyone were to proceed in spreading rumors and speculations over the war on terror, have also had several members on trial for the murder of DCD police officers, Garrett Garrington and Monica Enfield. These murders took place over 2 years ago, and finally, the trial was underway. This Monday, District Attorney Barbara Doherty from Washington, D.C. let out a statement stating the DCD police will now be patrolling not only the streets of New York, LA, and Washington, D.C., but are now expanding out to Chicago and Indianapolis, the suspected homes of the leaders of this terrible anti-government, violent, and tasteless rebel group, the Immaculate Contraception. No charges are being put against the group known as the Divine Doubters, although they have been stated as the inspiration for the Immaculate Contraception. The Divine Doubters themselves are a peaceful protest group who has disavowed any involvement with the Immaculate Contraception. We do not want the Divine Doubters. We want the heads of the leaders and the Immaculate Contraception, and we want them now. Good old District Attorney Barbara Doherty, our very own White Knight. We love you here at MAxT. You do good work. Seriously.
We are the Immaculate Contraception. We are tired of the apathy. We are tired of people not caring about what's being told to them on the media and on the news stations. We are tired of the lies and the falsicities that are being perpetuated by the media. This is why we have made threats for you not to participate in gossip, slandering, in any false advertising, in any propaganda, and the war on terror that's being perpetuated at Strawberry Fields. We are in agreement with the Perpetual War and the Divine Doubters. We have the same message. We believe in taking action. We do not believe in violence. We do believe in violence for the sake of the good. And the good is what must be forced upon this nation. The good is what must be forced upon this world. We will force it. You will be good. You will love your neighbor. You will, without a single doubt, not commit acts of murder, stealing, slandering, violence, or anything. We will force you to stop buying your SUVs. We will force you to save the planet. We will force you to save yourself. We will force enlightenment upon the world. That is our job. That is our goal. Yes, we will respond by the Divine Doubters, but the Divine Doubters are too peaceful. They do not have what it takes. They do not have the backbone to perpetuate what we are perpetuating. Enlightenment upon the world. Enlightenment upon the world. We are the Immaculate Contraception. We are the most perfect, beautiful abortion of ignorance, of the unenlightened, of those who spread fear, of religion. We are the Immaculate Contraception. Know us, beware of us, for we are not leaving.
Thank you yet again for viewing in on MAxT YouTube Vision. We wouldn't be here without you. Well, we would with or without you. Anyways, good night, sleep tight, see you in a few weeks.